Chapter 8, Human Health and Disease. Health for a long time was considered as a state of body and mind where there was a balance of certain humors. This is what early Greeks like Hippocrates as well as Indian Ayurveda system of medicine asserted. It was thought that persons with black bile belonged to hot personality and would have fevers. This idea has arrived at by pure reflective thought. The discovery of blood circulation by William Harvey using experimental method and the demonstration of normal body temperature in persons with black bile using thermometer disproved the good humor hypothesis of health. In later years, biology stated that mind influences through neural system and endocrine system, our immune system, and that our immune system maintains our health. Hence, mind and mental state can affect our health. Of course, health is affected by first, genetic disorders, deficiencies with which a child is born, and deficiencies or defects which the child inherits from parents from birth. Second, infections. And third, lifestyle including food and water we take, rest and exercise we give to our bodies, habits that we have or lack, etc. The term health is frequently used by everybody. How do we define it? Health does not simply mean absence of disease or physical fitness. It could be defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well being. When people are healthy, they are more efficient at work. This increases productivity and brings economic prosperity. Health also increases longevity of people and reduces infant and maternal mortality. Balanced diet, personal hygiene, and regular exercise are very important to maintain good health. Yoga has been practiced since time immemorial to achieve physical and mental health. Awareness about diseases and their effect on different bodily functions, vaccination, immunization against infectious diseases, proper disposal of wastes, control of vectors, and maintenance of hygienic food and water resources are necessary for achieving good health. When the functioning of one or more organs or systems of the body is adversely affected, characterized by various signs and symptoms, we say that we are not healthy, that is, we have a disease. Diseases can be broadly grouped into infectious and non infectious. Diseases which are easily transmitted from one person to another are called infectious diseases. Infectious diseases are very common and every one of us suffers from these at some time or other. Some of the infectious diseases like AIDS are fatal. Among non-infectious diseases, cancer is the major cause of death. Drug and alcohol abuse also affect our health adversely. Common diseases in humans. A wide range of organisms belonging to bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans, helminths, etc. could cause diseases in man. Such disease-causing organisms are called pathogens. Most parasites are therefore pathogens as they can cause harm to the host by living in or on them. The pathogens can enter our body by various means, multiply and interfere with normal vital activities, resulting in morphological and functional damage. Pathogens have to adapt to life within the environment of the host. For example, the pathogens that enter the gut must know a way of surviving in the stomach at low pH and resisting the various digestive enzymes. A few representative members from different groups of pathogenic organisms are discussed here along with the diseases caused by them. Preventive and control measures against these diseases in general are also briefly described. Salmonella typhi is a pathogenic bacterium which causes typhoid fever in human beings. These pathogens generally enter the small intestine through food and water contaminated with them and migrate to other organs through blood. Sustained high fever 39 to 40 degrees Celsius, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, and loss of appetite are some of the common symptoms of this disease. Intestinal perforation and death may occur in severe cases. Typhoid fever could be confirmed by Vidal test, a classic case in medicine that of Mary Mellon, nicknamed Typhoid Mary, is worth mentioning here. She was a cook by profession and was a typhoid carrier who continued to spread typhoid for several years through the food she prepared. Bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae are responsible for the disease pneumonia in humans, which infects the alveoli, air-filled sacs of the lungs. As a result of the infection, the alveoli gets filled with fluid, leading to severe problems in respiration. The symptoms of pneumonia include fever, chills, cough, and headache. In severe cases, the lips and fingernails may turn grey to bluish in color. A healthy person acquires the infection by inhaling the droplets, aerosols released by an infected person, or even by sharing glasses and utensils with an infected person. Dysentery, plague, diphtheria are some of the other bacterial diseases in man. Many viruses also cause diseases in human beings. Rhinoviruses represent one of such group of viruses which cause one of the most infectious human ailments, the common cold. They infect the nose and respiratory passage but not the lungs. The common cold is characterized by nasal congestion and discharge, sore throat, hoarseness, cough, headache, tiredness, etc., which usually last for 3 to 7 days. Droplets resulting from cough or sneezes of an infected person are either inhaled directly or transmitted through contaminated objects such as pens, books, cups, doorknobs, computer keyboard or mouse, etc., and cause infection in a healthy person. Some of the human diseases are caused by protozoans too. You might have heard about malaria, a disease man has been fighting since time many years. Plasmodium, a tiny protozoan, is responsible for this disease. Different species of Plasmodium, namely Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malaria, and Plasmodium falciparum, are responsible for different types of malaria. Of this, malignant malaria caused by Plasmodium falciparum, and it is the most serious one and can even be fatal. Let us take a glance at the life cycle of Plasmodium. Plasmodium enters the human body as sporozoites, infectious form, through the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. The parasites initially multiply within the liver cells and then attack the red blood cells RBCs, resulting in their rupture. The rupture of RBCs is associated with the release of a toxic substance, hemozoin, which is responsible for the chill and high fever recurring every 3 to 4 days. When a female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person, these parasites enter the mosquito's body and undergo further development. The parasites multiply within them to form sporozoites that are stored in their salivary glands. When these mosquitoes bite a human, the sporozoites are introduced into his or her body, thereby initiating the events mentioned above. It is interesting to note that malarial parasite requires two hosts, human and mosquitoes, to complete its life cycle. The female Anopheles mosquito is the vector transmitting agent too. Entamoeba histolytica is a protozoan parasite in the large intestine of human which causes amoebiasis, amoebic dysentery. Symptoms of this disease include constipation, abdominal pain and cramps, stools with excess mucus and blood clots. Houseflies act as mechanical carriers and serve to transmit the parasite from feces of infected person to food and food products, thereby contaminating them. Drinking water and food contaminated by the fecal matter are the main source of infection. Ascaris, the common roundworm, and Wucheria, the filarial worm, are some of the helminths which are known to be pathogenic to man. Ascaris, an intestinal parasite, causes ascariasis. Symptoms of this disease include internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and blockage of intestinal passage. The eggs of the parasite are excreted along with the feces of infected persons which contaminate soil, water, plants, etc. A healthy person acquires this infection through contaminated water, vegetables, fruits, etc. Wuchereria, namely Wuchereria bancrofti and Wuchereria malai, the filarial forms cause a slowly developing chronic inflammation of the organs in which they live for many years. Usually, the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs, and the disease is called elephantiasis or filariasis. The genital organs are also often affected, resulting in gross deformities. The pathogens are transmitted to a healthy person through the bite of the female mosquito vectors. Many fungi belonging to the genera Microsporum, Trichophyton, and Epidermophyton are responsible for ringworms, which is one of the most common infectious diseases in man. Appearance of dry, scaly lesions on various parts of a body, such as skin, nails, and scalp, are the main symptoms of the disease. These lesions are accompanied by intense itching. Heat and moisture help these fungi to grow, which makes them thrive in skin folds such as those in the groin or between the toes. Ringworms are generally acquired from soil or by using towels, clothes, or even the comb of the infected individuals. Maintenance of person and public hygiene is very important for prevention and control of many infectious diseases. Measures for personal hygiene include keeping the body clean, consumption of clean drinking water, food, vegetables, fruits, etc. Public hygiene include proper disposal of waste and excreta, periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs, pools, cesspools, and tanks, and observing standard practices of hygiene in public catering. These measures are particularly essential where the infectious agents are transmitted through food and water, such as typhoid, amoebiasis, ascariasis. In cases of airborne diseases such as pneumonia and common cold, in addition to above measures, close contact with the infected persons or their belongings should be avoided. For diseases such as malaria and filariasis that are transmitted through insect vectors, the most important measure is to control or eliminate the vectors and their breeding places. This can be achieved by avoiding stagnation of water in and around residential areas, regular cleaning of household coolers, use of mosquito nets, introducing fishes like Gambusia in ponds that feed on mosquito larvae, spraying of insecticides in ditches, drainage areas, and swamps, etc. In addition, doors and windows should be provided with wire mesh to prevent the entry of mosquitoes. Such precautions have become more important, especially in the light of recent widespread incidences of the vector-borne Aedes mosquitoes diseases like dengue and chikungunya in many parts of India. The advancement made in biological science have armed us to effectively deal with many infectious diseases. The use of vaccines and immunization programs have enabled us to completely eradicate a deadly disease like smallpox. A large number of other infectious diseases like polio, diphtheria, pneumonia, and tetanus have been controlled to a large extent by the use of vaccines. Biotechnology, about which you will read more in chapter 12, is at the verge of making available newer and safer vaccines. Discovery of antibiotics and various other drugs has also enabled us effectively to treat infectious diseases. Immunity. Every day we are exposed to large number of infectious agents. However, only a few of these exposures result in disease. Why? This is due to the fact that the body is able to defend itself from most of these foreign agents. This overall ability of the host to fight the disease causing organisms conferred by the immune system is called immunity. Immunity is of two types: innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity. Innate immunity is non-specific type of defense that is present at the time of birth. This is accomplished by providing different types of barriers to the entry of the foreign agents into our body. Innate immunity consists of four types of barriers. These are: first, physical barriers. Skin in our body is the main barrier which prevents the entry of the microorganisms. Mucous coating of the epithelium lining, the respiratory, gastrointestinal and urogenital tracts also help in trapping microbes entering our body. Physiological barriers. Acid in the stomach, saliva in the mouth, tears from eyes all prevent microbial growth. Third, cellular barriers. Certain types of leukocytes WBC of our body, like polymorphonuclear leukocyte PMNL neutrophils and monocytes, and natural killer type of lymphocyte in the blood, as well as macrophages in tissues, can phagocytose and destroy microbes. Fourth, cytokine barriers. Virus infected cells secrete proteins called interferons which protect non-infected cells from further viral infection. Acquired immunity. Acquired immunity, on the other hand, is pathogen specific. It is characterized by memory. This means when our body encounters pathogen for the first time, produces a response called primary response, which is of low intensity. Subsequent encounter with the same pathogen elicits a highly intensified secondary or anamnestic response. This is ascribed to the fact that our body appears to have memory of the first encounter. The primary and secondary immune responses are carried out with the help of two special types of lymphocytes present in our blood, that is B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. The B lymphocytes produce an army of proteins in response to pathogen into our blood to fight with them. These proteins are called antibiotics. The T cells themselves do not secrete antibodies but help B cells to produce them. Each antibody molecule has 4 peptide chains, 2 small called light chains and 2 longer called heavy chains. Hence, an antibody is represented as H2L2. Different types of antibodies are produced in our body. IgA, IgM, IgE, IgG are some of them. A cartoon of an antibody is given in figure 8.4. Because of these antibodies are found in the blood, the response is also known as humoral immune response. This is one of the two types of our acquired immune response, which is antibody mediated. The second type is the cell mediated immune response or cell mediated immunity. The T lymphocytes mediate cell mediated immunity. Very often, when some human organs like heart, eye, liver, kidney fail to function satisfactorily, transplantation is the only remedy to enable the patient to live a normal life. Then a search begins to find a suitable donor. Why is it that the organs cannot be taken from just anybody? What is it that the doctors check? Grafts from just any source, an animal, another primate, or any human beings cannot be made since the grafts would be rejected sooner or later. Tissue matching, blood group matching are essential before undertaking any graft transplant and even after the patient has to take immunosuppressants all his or her life. The body is able to differentiate self and non-self, and the cell-mediated immune response is responsible for the graft rejection. Active and passive immunity. When a host is exposed to antigens, which may be in the form of living or dead microbes or other proteins, antibodies are produced in the host body. This type of immunity is called active immunity. Active immunity is slow and takes time to give its full effective response. Injecting the microbes deliberately during immunization or infectious organisms gaining access into body during natural infection induce active immunity. When ready-made antibodies are directly given to protect the body against foreign agents, it is called passive immunity. Do you know why mother's milk is considered very essential for the newborn infant? The yellow fluid colostrum secreted by mother during the initial days of lactation has abundant antibodies IgA to protect the infant. The fetus also receives some antibodies from their mother through the placenta during pregnancy. These are some examples of passive immunity. Vaccination and immunization. The principle of immunization or vaccination is based on the property of memory of the immune system. In vaccination, a preparation of antigenic proteins of pathogen or inactivated or weakened pathogen vaccine are introduced into the body. The antibodies produced in the body against these antigens would neutralize the pathogenic agents during actual infection. The vaccines also generate memory, B and T cells that recognize the pathogen quickly on subsequent exposure and overwhelm the invaders with a massive production of antibodies. If a person with infected some deadly microbes to which quick immune response is required, such as in tetanus, we need directly inject the preformed antibodies or antitoxin, a preparation containing antibodies to the toxin. Even in cases of snake bites, the injection which is given to patient contain preformed antibodies against the snake venom. This type of immunization is called passive immunization. Recombinant DNA technology has allowed the production of antigenic polypeptides of pathogen in bacteria or yeast. Vaccines produced using this approach allow large scale production and hence greater availability for immunization. Example, hepatitis B vaccine is produced from yeast. Allergies. When you have gone to a new place and suddenly you started sneezing, wheezing for no explained reason, and when you went away, your symptoms disappeared. Did this happen to you? Some of us are sensitive to some particles in the environment. The above mentioned reaction could be because of allergy to pollen, mites, etc., which are different in different places. The exaggerated response of the immune system to certain antigens present in the environment is called allergy. The substances to which such an immune response is produced are called allergens. The antibodies produced to this are of IgE type. Common examples of allergens are mites in dust, pollens, animal dander, etc. Symptoms of allergic reactions include sneezing, watery eyes, running nose, and difficulty in breathing. Allergy is due to the release of chemicals like histamine and serotonin from the mast cells. For determining the cause of allergy, the patient is exposed to or injected with very small doses of possible allergens and the reactions studied. The use of drugs like antihistamine adrenaline, and steroids quickly reduce the symptoms of allergy. Somehow, modern day lifestyle has resulted in lowering of immunity and more sensitivity to allergens. More and more children in metro cities of India suffer from allergies and asthma due to sensitivity to the environment. This could be because of the protected environment provided early in life. Autoimmunity. Memory based acquired immunity evolved in higher vertebrates based on the ability to differentiate foreign organisms, example pathogens, from self cells. While we still do not understand the basis of this, two corollaries of this ability have to be understood. 1. Higher vertebrates can distinguish foreign molecules as well as foreign organisms. Most of the experimental immunology deals with this aspect. 2. Sometimes, due to genetic and other unknown reasons, the body attacks self cells. This results in damage to the body and is called autoimmune disease. Rheumatoid arthritis, which affects many people in our society, is an autoimmune disease. Immune system in the body. The human immune system consists of lymphoid organs, tissues, cells, and soluble molecules like antibodies. As you have read, human immune system is unique in the sense that it recognizes foreign antigens, responds to these, and remembers them. The immune system also plays an important role in allergic reactions, autoimmune diseases, and organ transplantation. Lymphoid organs. These are the organs where origin and or maturation and proliferation of lymphocytes occur. The primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow and thymus, where immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen sensitive lymphocytes. After maturation, the lymphocytes migrate to secondary lymphoid organs like lymph nodes, spleen, tonsils, Peyer's patches of small intestine, and appendix. The secondary lymphoid organs provide the sites of interaction of lymphocytes with the antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. The location of various lymphoid organs in the body is shown in the figure 8.5. The bone marrow is the main lymphoid organs where all blood cells including lymphocytes are produced. The thymus is a lobed organ near the heart and beneath the breastbone. The thymus is quite large at the time of birth but keeps reducing in size with age, and by the time puberty is attained it reduces to a very small size. Both bone marrow and thymus provide microenvironments for the development and maturation of T lymphocytes. The spleen is a large bean-shaped organ. It mainly contains lymphocytes and phagocytes. It acts as a filter of blood by trapping blood-borne microorganisms. Spleen also has a large reservoir of erythrocytes. The lymph nodes are small solid structures located different points along the lymphatic system. Lymph nodes serve to trap the microorganisms or other antigens which happen to get into the lymph and tissue fluid. Antigens trapped in the lymph nodes are responsible for the activation of lymphocytes present there and cause the immune response. There is lymphoid tissue also located within the lining of the major tracts, respiratory, digestive, and urogenital tracts, called mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, MALT. It constitutes about 50% of the total lymphoid tissue in human body.